Okay, we're going to go through the answers to your review test. I have all the answers on the screen here. So for each part of the test, if you see that your answers are correct, you can kind of scroll ahead and get to the next section. But if you didn't have the correct answers, let's go through how we would solve these equations with multiple steps. If you remember, we draw our line down, and then we subtract or we add. Down here we added to both sides our constant, and then once we have our coefficient, something times x equals something, we divide by that coefficient. Here we divided by 3, negative 2, 4, and 2 until we get x by itself. And a good way to check would be to plug that x back in, so 3 times 7 plus 7 should equal 28. Okay, so go ahead and circle, if you got them all right, circle a 4. If you got all but 1 right, circle a 3.4, and anything less than that, circle a 3 or a 2 or a 1. Solving with parentheses, again, if you got them all right, go ahead and circle a 4 and move on. Here the only difference is we're distributing, so we're taking this 4 times x and 4 times 2 to get 4x plus 8. 5 times x and 5 plus 2 equals 5x plus 10. 2 times 3x times 2 times negative 7 is 6x minus 14. And from there we solve just like we did below. So if you missed one, give yourself a 3.4. If you missed more than that, give yourself a 3 or a 2 or a 1. Solving equations on both sides, first we have to get the variable by itself. So we usually get rid of the smaller one. So here I minused x from both sides, minus 3x, I minused 4x, and then I combined like terms here, got negative 24x. That's smaller, a bigger negative than negative 21x, so I added 24x to both sides. And then from there you just solve like you would. So if you got these 3 right, give yourself a 3.4. If you missed one of these 3, give yourself a 3, a 2, or a 1, depending on how many you missed. Graphing linear relationships, remember we have a y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. Again, if you have all these right, you'll have to move on to the last 2 and see if you got them all right. This would be 3 over 1x. So we start at negative 1 and we go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, or down 3 backwards 1, down 3 backwards 1. That's our line. Here we start at 6. Since we have a negative, we go down 3 over 4. Remember, we always run right. Here we have y equals 5. That would also be y equals 0x plus 5. So we don't have a slope, so that's 0 over 1. So we go up 0 over 1, up 0 over 1 after we started at 5. Here we have y equals 3 plus 1/2 x. So we start at 3, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, or down 1 backwards 2. So go ahead and we'll move on to these two. Here we have y equals 2/3 x plus 0. So we start at 0, 0, up 2 over 3. And I actually graphed this one wrong. This should be up 2 over 3. So it should go like this. So let's draw a new line here and get rid of my old line. So we go up 2 over 3. And then the last one, we start at negative 1, go down 1 over 1, because this negative 1 would be a negative 1 over 1 for slope. So if you missed one, or maybe 2, give yourself a 3.4. If you missed more than that, 3, 2, or 1. Constructing a linear equation from a description, you need, again, y equals mx plus b. So we need a starting point and a slope. So I said the starting point is Devin wins $5. That's my y-intercept. And then she gets $2 for every basket. So that'd be $2 for every 1 basket. Aaron is walking from the cafeteria. He starts at 120 and he's walking at 4 feet. So this would be negative 4 over 1x. 4 feet per second over 1 second. So every 1 second he walks 4 feet. And then finally, Mary is selling beef sticks. She buys, so she spends negative $8, and then she gets back $1 for every beef stick she makes. Okay? Give yourself a score there, depending on how you did. And we'll move on to constructing linear equations from tables. Remember, we need our y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and it's also our rise over our run. So our rise over run is the change in y over change in x. So here we have 6 over 1, negative 2 over 1, 5 over 2. And then here we have 3 over 1, 4 over 12, or 12 over 4, and 9 over 3, which all reduce down to 3 over 1. Then we need our y-intercept, which is when x equals 0, y is our y-intercept. So when x equals 0, y equals 5, that's our y-intercept. X equals 0, y equals 13, that's our y-intercept. This one we had to go backwards, so minus 2 to get to 0, and y equals minus 5 to get to 23. So that's our y-intercept, and 0 and 15 gives us a y-intercept of 15 there. Go ahead, give yourself a score depending on how you did. Then finally, for constructing linear equations, construct them from a graph. We know the y-intercept is where our line crosses the y-axis, and then our slope is what we go up or down and over to the right. So here we're going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, so we have 2 over 1, x plus 3. Here we're going down 3 over 4, so we have negative 3 over 4x, and we start here at 4. Here we don't go up or over any, so we have 0x plus, we start at 5, or just y equals 5. And finally, here we start at negative 3, we go up 2 over 3, so we'd have 2/3 x minus 3. Go ahead and give yourself a score based on how you did there. And we're going to move on to some geometry. If you remember, a triangle adds up to 180, so if you take 180 and minus 50 and minus 23, this C should be 107. And then here also a straight line adds up to 180. So we know 30 plus this is going to equal 180. So 180 minus that 30 is 150. And then solving for missing angles, we were given that angle 1 was 120. Well, if 1's 120, then 4 is 120. And if 4 is 120, then 8's 120. And if 8's 120, then 5's 120. And then all of these make straight lines with this other missing angle. And 180 minus that 120 gives us 60 for all these other missings. Go ahead and give yourself a score there. Finally, we're moving on to exponents. If you remember, if we expand out these exponents, when we're dividing, we have everything on the top and the bottom. So here and here and here. And then the same thing on the top and bottom cancel out. So here, 10 minus 3 gives us r to the 7th. 4 minus 1 gives us z to the 3rd. 9 minus 3 gives us m to the 6th. And 15 minus 10 gives us m to the 5. One key thing here is the 16 divided by 4. We don't minus that. That's 16 divided by 4, which is 4. Okay? When we're multiplying exponents with the same base, if we write them all out, this is just like 3l's plus 9l's is going to be 12l's. And 8p's plus one more p will be 9p's. If we go down to find some more like that, 2x's plus 9x's is going to be 11x's. Here, 3x's plus 5x's is going to be 8x's. 4z's plus one more z is going to be 5z's. And then, since we have 3 times 7, that's going to be 21. Lastly, we can take an exponent of a power to a power. So if we have x cubed 4 times, that's x to the 12th. If we have 5c twice, so squared, then we have 5 times 5 and c 8 times. So 5 squared is 25, c to the 8th. Here we have 3t to the 3rd, x to the 4th 3 times. So that's 3 cubed, t to the 9th, x to the 12th, or 27 is 3 cubed. And then finally we have 4x to the 7th squared, so we have 4 times 4, which is 16, and x to the 14th. Alright, and then the last thing was scientific notation. For scientific notation, we were given these people that text and people that call and said which one is bigger without writing them out. Well, even though this number is bigger, 4.6 is bigger than 1, I'm going to multiply this one times 10 6 times and this one times 10 8 times. So this one's going to be get multiplied by 10 2 more times, so it's going to be much larger since it has the larger exponent. Finally here, with multiplying numbers in scientific notation, we take the numbers and we multiply them by each other, and then the tens and multiply them by each other, and we get 7.22 times 10 to the 6th. Here we take the numbers and divide them, and the tens and divide them, 2.6 times 10 to the 4th. Numbers again, multiply them to get 7.35. Tens, you would get 10 to the 15th. And then here, 4.14 divided by 0.02 is actually 70, so to get it into scientific notation, I had to move that decimal over one more time, and then I'm going to have to add to my exponent one more time as well. So give yourself a score on all of those, and then I want you to go through and look at what you did poorly on. And then you're going to search on con, some kind of, if you did poorly on scientific notation, search for scientific notation. If you did poorly on other things, search for that topic on con. If you don't know exactly what topic to search for, you can ask me, but that's what you'll be working on for the rest of the day.